Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everyone? Professor Taco here today with the Book of Elements. Yes, students, today I, Professor Taco, will be teaching you guys the secrets of the Book of Elements. Anything that is new from this book, I will be presenting here today for you. I mean, I could just smell the knowledge in this book, all this new knowledge. So without further ado, let's get straight into it, shall we? So the first order of business is going to be under the section of the elemental power of fire. We get confirmation that the powder whippers, or the serpentine kind that Asphira turns into the fire snakes, are indeed Hypnobrai. Now, obviously, the Hypnobrai do look a little bit different from past to present, and that probably just has to do with evolution. So it's cool that we get that confirmation that those snakes are actually Hypnobrai. Next up is the elemental power of my favorite beloved character, Zane. Now, again, not much is really said about the elemental power of ice that we don't already know, but we get to see the original elemental master of ice, and again, once again, confirmation that he did indeed pass down his elemental powers to Zane. Obviously. But how still remains the question, what was the physical process of him passing down his elemental power? And I have a small theory, and it has to do maybe with elemental essence, which is explained later in the book. It doesn't really explain what elemental essence is, but I think every elemental power has some sort of elemental essence that can be transferred to elemental or non-elemental people, so they can then have elemental powers. So in a sense, the Master of Ice passed down the elemental essence of ice down to Zane in the form of maybe his power source or something. But yeah, he just passed it down through elemental essence. And then we also get a little bit under the section of the Master of Water that a trained Master of Water can control ice, but only go as far as controlling the ice, not necessarily like creating ice, freezing water. It's just being able to move ice around, just like we saw in the show, Nia being able to move the icicles, but it just is just that Nia could just move icicles. That's as far as the mastery of ice for elemental master of water can go. As for Jay's elemental power of lightning, there isn't really much to it. It's basically information we already knew, but it's just kind of cool to see that we get to see Jay's mother and Jay's father in the book. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Next up is the power of Earth. Now, Earth is Cole's elemental power, and we get a nice little family tree, quote unquote, for Cole. Obviously, his mother was the Master of Earth before him, but his grandfather was also an elemental master of Earth. Now, this kind of changes a few things. Obviously, we kind of knew that he was the grandfather of Cole, the guy we saw in the Serpentine Wars. But the reason I have a small issue with this is because of the timeline. It just, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. The timeline, the 40-year timeline from the Serpentine Wars to present day that was Hands of Time is just, it's kind of dumb. I'm just saying right now, but whatever, right? So that is cool to see, confirmation, Cole's grandfather, mom, whatever. We also get confirmation of Cole's Earth Punch. It's not really lava arms. Misako, you dumb butt. Why would you ever call it lava arms? It's dumb. But yeah, essentially, Earth Punch, power of magma. I would even call it magma arms. Maybe not even magma arms, but yeah. Just, we get to see the Earth Punch mentioned in the book. It's called the Earth Punch. So that's also pretty great. And the last thing that we get from this book in terms of the section of the Masters of Earth is that the Masters of Earth were technically the only ones that ever did the burst. So in the show, we get that any elemental master surrounded by their element can use the Spinjitzu burst. But only up to this point did no one really knew about it. So up to this point, only the elemental masters of Earth knew how to do it, knew how to do the Spinjitzu burst. And honestly, my theory to this is that it's just the easiest element to do the Spinjitzu burst, because Earth is around you. It's literally everywhere. Probably the Master of Water could be the second, elemental master to do the burst, and technically you could say that Nia and Naiad could have done the burst or can do the burst, but it's there. So any master could do the burst. It's just up to this point, they were the only ones that could do it. So in the recent season of Seabound, we did get some new information of the elemental masters of water. We get the original elemental master of water, Naiad, and then we also learned that Wojira controlled water and wind. The first Spinjitzu master could not control those elements. Cool stuff. And we also learn about the story of Naiad, and we get a bit of an expansion in the Book of Elements as well. As you can see right here, I'll be reading off the quick story. The first elemental master of water, and Nia's ancestor, was a brave Merlopian warrior named Naiad. She fought her greatest battle deep in the endless sea against an enormous sea serpent called Wojira. Legend says that long ago the monster was awakened, and Naiad defeated her on the last day of the Battle of 9 Days. To do so, Naiad had to lose herself in her elemental power and become one with the sea. She was never seen again. So, first elemental master of water, Nia's ancestor. Bit complicated. I'll get why in a second. And we also get confirmation of what that battle was called. Battle of 9 Days. So the battle of the first Spinjitzu master versus Wojira, Merlopians, the Islanders, that was called the Battle of 9 Days. Kinda sick history lesson, not gonna lie. Now, Merlopians being Nia's ancestors, a little bit iffy. Now, how are they the ancestors? Like, that doesn't make sense, okay? So, Naiad becomes water. How does she offspring if she's water? Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm assuming they're tied in terms of ancestry by the elemental power of water, but how does that power pass down to the next generation if you can't, continue that generation if you're water? I'll make a whole video separate to that, but it's just confusing how the elemental power of water got all the way to that point, and it might have to tie again with elemental essence again in terms of how it got transferred to the next generation, but tad confusing. Cool little tidbits. Battle of 9 Days. I'll make a whole separate video about the elemental masters of water and how exactly that happens. It's kind of crazy though to see that also Merlopians are ancestors to Nia. It's kind of cool. You could even say that Benthamar, Kalmar, and Nia are all related in a way, but I don't know. Golden power and energy, or green energy, are probably the elements that we had the most questions of aside from creation and destruction. And in this book, we get confirmation. It's called energy and golden power, or energy / green power. So it's either two. Great. So from my understanding from this book, basically energy, green power is a weaker version of golden power. They both incorporate the 4 main elements of creation. So that's kind of cool. But what exactly makes golden power more powerful than energy? I think it's the combination of the 4 elements of creation and destruction. So essentially, the 4 elements of creation are fire, earth, lightning, and ice. So both energy and golden power kind of already have that creation essence. But golden power kind of goes a step further to have destruction. So it's a both mixture of creation, destruction, 4 elemental powers. That's kind of my takeaway of it. But yeah, so it's all just a mix of things, both golden power and green power. Also, as we've seen in the show, golden power has the ability to make vehicles, and it probably goes far beyond just making a cool motorcycle. So kind of sad that we didn't get to see the full potential of the golden power. Hopefully it comes back again sometime in the future, but only time will tell. And of course, the Book of Elements cannot be completed without the first Spinjitzu master being the first master to basically master all the elements. Spinjitzu created as well. He created Spinjitzu. Golden power master. He's got everything. He's got a full arsenal. He also passed down all those elements to the elemental masters, or people without elemental powers became elemental masters, which made the elemental alliance. He was the guy who created the freaking land of Ninjago, not the realm. We learned that because the realm was already there. Wojira, Islanders, Orlopians, they were all there. He just created the land, and it's just a recap of what the first Spinjitzu master has done. It's all in the book. Quite interesting. Nothing new that we've learned, but yeah, that's the first Spinjitzu master for you guys. And of course, without light, you cannot have darkness. The offspring, you could almost say the offspring of Ninjago was the Overlord. You know, you had this beam of light, which was the first Spinjitzu master, and from that arose the darkness, which was the Overlord. And darkness is basically just anti-golden power. It's basically just the opposite of golden power. It's kind of similar, but maybe focuses on more of that essence of destruction, more so than creation, which is why it's just dark matter or dark energy. Creation and destruction. Confirmed not to be elemental powers, but an elemental essence. I'm going to read off a quote from a document found in the ancient library of Domu. 2 quotes. This is the one for creation. Creation, like destruction, is not an element. It is an elemental essence, an energy. When the energy of creation is used with the elements, the results can be amazing. And as for destruction, which is right here as well, I should probably have the page open. Do not confuse destruction with darkness. Darkness feeds on creation. It needs life to make evil. Destruction fears creation. Destruction only wants to erase all life. Pretty profound stuff. So it's interesting to see how fire, ice, earth, and lightning kind of are a mixture, or can have the ability of creation. And it's interesting to see what could be those like 4 core elements maybe of destruction, if destruction would have any. Obviously the book doesn't go into that, or else I would have shared it with you guys. But we know that the dragon, the Oni, are, you know, destruction, darkness, and Garmadon has that elemental essence of destruction, whereas Wu has that elemental essence of creation. So in a sense, Wu could also possess the powers of fire, earth, lightning, and ice, because creation and those 4 elements of creation are tied together pretty tightly. And lastly, every other elemental power. Now, we don't get anything about the last element that has been rumored or confirmed coming next year. That is not, unfortunately, in the book. And as for all the other elemental powers, it's all just information we already knew, pretty much. Except for just one tiny bit where it says Skylar's mother, her known whereabouts are unknown, essentially. We don't know where she is, so we don't know if she's deceased or just out and about, just like Jay's mother. So she might come back in the future. Maybe it's just a small hint of her future appearance, maybe Skylar's future appearance. Not too sure, but maybe stay tuned for that. Look forward to that. Maybe it might be a hint as to where the original elemental master of Amber is, Skylar's mother, but we don't know. We'll see. But pretty much that's all of the elements, and yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's lesson with Professor Taco. Hopefully you guys found some of this information interesting, intriguing, whatever it might be. I recommend you guys get the book though. You know, just scroll through it, look at the drawings. It's a really good book is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm a sucker for Ninjago content, and this definitely has plenty of it. I mean, sure, a lot of it's a bit of recap, just highlights of each elemental master. Like it's already a bunch of information that we already know, but it's still cool to see in like book form, like an official kind of book. And obviously, again, there's some new information in here. I don't know how canon this book is. We probably should ask Tommy Andresen to see how canon this book is, but it's still cool to see a book like this exist for us Ninjago fans. So I definitely recommend getting the book. It's cool. It's got pictures. It's got words. Cool book. And with that said, hopefully y'all enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, share this video with a friend, and I will see you all in the next one. Taco out. Really quick, I wanted to read the quote they have for the elemental power of ice. Ready? I am hard.